Okay, tonight's homework is 2-7 worksheet 1, so let's go ahead and start it. Find the following for each function below and use it to graph the function along with several other key points you chose from your XY table in your calculator. Whenever I say in your calculator, if you want to use Desmos, you can. I'm going to use Desmos because a lot of you use that rather than a graphing calculator because it doesn't always work whenever we pull it up. So here we go. Very first thing we're going to do is we are going to see if we can factor this thing. This is an x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4. This is a 2x squared plus 1. This down here, it's a plus 1. If I subtract 1 and divide by 2 and then take the square root, it puts me in the imaginary number system. So I know I can't factor this, which means my domain is x is an element of the reals. I have no domain restrictions, which means number 2 is my vertical asymptotes. My vertical asymptotes, if I don't have any domain restrictions, I have no vertical asymptotes, which means number 3 is my horizontal asymptotes. Well, I can still have a horizontal asymptote, but I have to compare and contrast. So that's a 3, and that's a 2. N is equal to 3, N is equal to 2. 3 is greater than 2 by 1, so that means I have none here, but that does mean that I do have a slant asymptote. And the reason why there's a slant asymptote is because it is exactly 1 unit larger in the top than it is in the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and find that slant asymptote. So that's 2x squared plus 1. And this is going to be an x cubed plus a 2x squared plus a 0x plus a 4. Okay? So let's go ahead and find that. What do I multiply 2x squared by to obtain an x cubed? Well, I got to cancel the 2 out. So that means I have to multiply by a half, and I only need one more x. So that's going to be a half x. So half x times 2x squared is going to give me an x cubed. Half x times a 1 is going to give me a plus 1/2 x. Okay, change the signs. Those cancel out, and that gives me a 2x squared minus a half x plus a 4. Go ahead, and what do I multiply 2x squared by to give me a 2x squared? How about a 1? 1 times that gives me a 2x squared plus a 1. Change the signs, those cancel out, negative 1/2 x plus 3. This is not relevant. I don't need it. What I do need is this right here. That is my slant asymptote. Okay? That is my slant asymptote. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to graph this. So the very first thing I'm going to graph is my slant asymptote. So that is going to be 1/2 x plus 1. So I have a plus 1 right here. And I'm going to go up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2. There is my slant asymptote. Super important that we graph that. Now I'm actually going to erase my dots so that I don't get them confused with all of my other points for my graph. Okay? So the next thing I need to do is I need to go ahead and I need to find my x-intercepts, which are going to be my zeros. So how do I find my x-intercepts? My x-intercepts are found by taking n of x and setting it equal to 0. Well, my n of x is going to be x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4, and that has to equal 0. Okay? Now I'm going to be really honest, I can't factor that. So I'm going to use Desmos to help me find the x-intercepts graphically, okay? Then my y-intercept is found by going ahead and letting x be 0. So if I let x be 0 everywhere here, I have 0 cubed plus 2 times 0 squared plus 4 over 2 times 0 squared plus 1. All of those go away and I'm left with a 4, so I have the ordered pair 0, 4. So again, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to graph the point 0, 4. Bam! That's what I know I need. So I'm going to come over to Desmos right now, and I'm going to graph this. So here's my Desmos, and I'm going to delete all of these because none of those are relevant anymore. And I am going to graph this. This is going to be parenthesis, x raised to the third, plus 2x squared, plus 4, divided by 2x squared plus 1. And there's my graph. Okay, now I'm going to immediately click on this. And whenever I click on this, do we see that point? That point is very, very helpful. And this point right here is very, very helpful. So what I just did is I found my x and y intercepts right there. And you can't see that very well due to the glare, but you can see it on the actual screen. So I guess it still helps you. So if I come back over to my calculator, or to my problem right here, I need to have more x and y points. So my x and y points that I'm going to use 0, 4, and I'm going to have, the other point was negative 2.594, comma 0. And then I need to now find an xy table. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the plus sign with the table, and I'm going to copy this right up here. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste. In every place I see an x, I'm going to put a 1 beside that, right? I see an x, I put a 1. I see an x, I put a 1, because I need to match this over here. So now I need to know what's happening to the left of 0. So I'm going to do negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. None of those are very pretty to graph except for negative 1 and 1.666. So I need to go to the right of lovely little 0. So I need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And all of those values are there too. And it gives us a nice shot of which ones I want to use. So I'm going to use 1 and 2 1/3. I'm going to use negative 1 and 1 2/3. So I have negative 1, and this was 1 and 2/3. And then not very nice. None of those are very nice. And then I'm going to use 1 and 2/3. 2 and 1/3. And this is approximately 4, and that's going to be approximately 3.03. Okay? So that means if I graph those points now, those are the points I would graph. So this is going to be negative 2.5, so approximately there. Negative 1 and 1 and 2/3 puts me there. 1 and then 2 and 1/3 puts me here. And then this is going to be 4 and 3. Okay, so what you can see is that this is what's happening to our graph. And we have checked off that we did those points, we got them on our graph, and we're good to go. Let's keep on going. Number 8. Number 8 is step 1. Step 1, I'm going to go to factor this. X plus 1 over, this is x minus 3, x plus 2. Okay? So, domain restrictions. There is going to be x is an element of the reals, and x cannot be 3 or negative 2. Next, I'm going to have my vertical asymptotes. Vertical, nothing cancels out, so x is equal to 3 and negative 2. So I'm going to immediately come over here, I'm going to graph those. 3 and negative 2. Okay? Next is going to be my horizontal. So my horizontal, the degree of the numerator is 1, the degree of the denominator is 2, so n is less than m. So when n is less than m, that means you're going to go ahead and have no asymptote at all. I'm sorry, y equals 0. I'm losing my mind. You're going to have y equals 0. Okay? Then that's going to bring us to number 4. I can't have a slant and a horizontal, so since I have a horizontal, my slant is none. Then number 5, my x-intercept is found by taking n of x and setting it equal to 0. So x plus 1 is equal to 0, so x is equal to negative 1, so that's the point negative 1, 0. So I'm going to come over here and graph that. So that's negative 1, 0. My y-intercept My y-intercept is going to be found by going ahead and putting 0 in everywhere. So 0 plus 1 over 0 squared minus 0 minus 6. So that's going to be negative 1/6. So that gives me the point 0, negative 1/6. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to graph that. 0, negative 1/6. That puts me approximately here. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here to Desmos, and I am going to graph this. So coming over here to Desmos, I'm going to delete that, delete this. Oopsie. So I'm going to have parenthesis x plus 1 divided by x squared minus x minus 6. And hit enter. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put in my vertical asymptotes. We said our vertical asymptotes were at x equals 3. Hit enter. Our other vertical asymptote was at x equals negative 2. And then we had a horizontal y equals 0. Okay? So that's what we have going on here. Now if I click on this graph, that's a point that we wanted, and that's a point that we wanted. Okay? Now, that's super important that your brain understand that 1 divided by 6 is equal to what decimal? 1.666. Yes? And that was just me showing you that so that you understood that those were equivalent. So everything that we have so far on our paper checks out according to the graph here. Okay? So now I want to go ahead and make an XY table. So I'm going to hit the plus table, and I'm going to copy this graph, and I'm going to paste it over at place of y1. And every place you see an x, you're going to put the 1 in the numerator and in the denominator, and hit enter. Now, remember, we have to go to the left of our vertical asymptotes, and between our vertical asymptotes, and to the right of our vertical asymptotes. So I want some values that are smaller than negative 2. So I want negative 4, negative 3, negative 2 is undefined. Now we're going to go 1, 0, 1.5. 2 we already know is going to be 0.5, 3, or how about 2.5? 3 is undefined. Okay. Now we're going to go above 3. So let's do 4. Let's do 3.5 and 5. And then you can literally pick any of the values that you think would be easy for you to graph. Okay? Now I've picked all of these points here so that you're able to see exactly what's going on, and you have them there and you can graph them. Okay? And that is what you're going to put on this page right here for your x and y values. You're going to pick the points that you're going to graph from here. And that gives you a great idea. Okay? And that is the homework and what my expectations are for you. Making sure that you are filling this out as you go. Whenever you come over here, making sure you're putting those points in for you to see exactly what is happening to the graph. Okay? I want 3 points over here, I want 3 points right here, and I want 3 points over here. And that will give you the full coverage of the graph and what the expectations are. Okay? That's how you do tonight's homework.